Ever feel like no matter how much you achieve, it's just never enough? If you're driven, your brain might be wired for a perfectionism trap that leaves you constantly reaching but rarely satisfied. Let's explore why that happens and how you can finally break free.
Kind of the thing that started all of this for me back 25 years ago, 30 years ago, feeling like I wasn't enough, feeling like no matter what I did wasn't enough, and perfectionism. Often the name for this chronic sense of needing to do more. And whatever you do, you look for the little bit of flaws in it. If that is you, you're watching the right video, because it is kind of the defining feature of what I'm an expert in. This topic of perfectionism comes up all the time in my practice with myself, and watch till the end because I got a solution for it. So it is kind of the encapsulation of everything I do. So what is perfectionism? Let me start there. Perfectionism is this inner world, not outer world, inner world sense that the driven brain, or the ADD, ADHD brain, is always looking and finding the smallest flaws in everything we do. And it's the 99 on a spelling test that makes us insane, because it's that jump out of the one word that you Dan didn't spell right. And so that creates an entire constellation of inner world experiences that really, lead to addiction, lead to shame, lead to everything that I have written about. So perfectionism is the cornerstone of what it means to be driven. So what it is actually a neurobiological difference in a couple different ways our brain works. And so very simply, our reward system's different. Dopamine receptor number 2, DRD2, dopamine receptor D2, dash A1 allele gene. And what an allele gene means is that it's a normal gene. Everybody's got a DRD2, but the variant of it, this little twist in our genetics, makes the driven, makes the ADD, ADHD person experience a lack of reward, anticipated reward. And so if I make it perfect, I'll get this dopamine charge. But when you finally get it done, we don't get that burst of dopamine like a lot of other people do. And so when that burst of dopamine doesn't come, it leaves us feeling as if it wasn't good enough. And that foundation, basic understanding is the path to freedom. And so that basic understanding is I'm expecting good, feelings when I finish this thing. And then how does it feel when you actually get done? And that is that dopamine receptor not receiving enough dopamine, number one. And actually the way it's called a transphase, how the dopamine's carried into the cells is actually one of the things that varies in us. And so dopamine, if it is released, it's not carried into the cells in the same rate as normal people. And so when we anticipate something, when I finish my PhD, it's going to feel so amazing. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Dr. Jim Spira comes and shakes my hand and congratulations, Dr. Brackmann. Oh, really? That's it? Really? And my inner experience then, because of this, that's it feeling, hits the neocortex, the problem solver, and I come up with a logical, rational explanation. I must have faked it. I must have cut a corner here or there. I really didn't do it because it didn't feel as good as I expected it to. And so that turns into this cascade of maybe next time I can do it better and better and better and better and perfect. And if I finally ever get it perfect, then I will actually feel like I've rewarded myself with this. I'll finally get to this finish line. Little bit interesting difference genetics, the dopamine receptor number 4, it makes us feel, and this is called the FOMO gene, or the genetic variant associated with wondering, meaning that we are always seeking novelty. We're seeking new experiences. that combined with perfectionism, that's why we're jumping from thing to thing. If I couldn't do roller skating perfect, maybe I can do ice skating perfect. Maybe I can do this perfectly. And so this combination, and it becomes a pretty complex thing. But getting into the solution, the very simple path out of this hell that many of us get in is it's a feeling. I'll say it again. It feels like it wasn't good enough. It didn't reward me the way I expected it to. I thought there was going to be more woolly mammoths over this next hill, and I get to the next hill, and the shiny object isn't as shiny as I thought it was. And so we jump to another shiny object, or we have the opportunity right there to pause. And, all of this stuff and all of these other videos I make, and they can list a different couple of them suggested, really about the sense of self and this what is emotion, because feelings are not facts. And as I open this video, this inner world experience that you're having where it feels like things aren't good enough doesn't mean it's not good enough. That's the thing. Full circle with my damn PhD. What is the joke? It's hanging on my wall. I have the certificate. Check box. It was good enough. Yeah, but it could have been better. Everything can be better. And that starts this process. And, I'm a long-time meditation practitioner, and part of my practice has been koans, Koan, and it's a Japanese riddle. Very traditional one. This is the sound of two hands. Watch is the sound of one hand. Makes your brain scramble. It's like, what do you mean? What the hell? A very classic koan, something I present in the book Driven. When you finally reach the top of the 100-foot pole, what is the next step? What are you going to do when you finally actually achieve perfection? And so as drivens, as ADD, ADHD people, we are constantly seeking the poles to climb. And when I finally get to the top of this pole, when I finally get my homework done, when I finally lose that extra 5 pounds, when I finally get the perfect girlfriend, then, and that's that classic if-then thinking, then I'll be happy. Then I'll finally get my reward. And if you happen to be wired like me, and it is a blessing, believe it or not a curse, and can be a curse if you don't actually actively start to engage a lot of the content that I'm creating. But this koan, when you finally reach the top of the 100-foot pole, what are you going to do next? And I worked on that koan, meaning that I struggled trying to give an appropriate answer to my teacher. And interesting thing about koans is that none of them are answered in your head. They're all answered in the body. And so what does that mean? It means very simply, when you get the answer, you experience it. The answer is an experience. And so working on this koan, what I've been in the tradition is during a Zen retreat, during a meditation retreat, he rings this cowbell, and then you go in there and he'll sit down real, incense is burning, but you sit down and he'll look at you, go, koan. And you say the koan. When you finally reach the top of the 100-foot pole, what is the next step? He goes, good. Answer. And then you go, jump. Blah. Terrible answer. Get out. More zazen, more meditation. And so I'm going through this for 2 years in probably 3, if not 4 different Zen retreats. It's actually 3rd. It was on the 3rd retreat that I was working on this koan that I finally experienced the answer, and that you can see me experiencing the answer in my body right now. And what is the answer? There is no pole. And that, and then this particular retreat, I started to laugh at myself. And so another video that you're going to want to watch is this understanding of the self, because the real me, was laughing at this thing, because this monkey elephant combination creates this lowercase self. But the capital S self, the one who is observing this, was looking at the folly that this thing creates by trying to create a pole. But I thought it was hilarious that I was creating a pole out of that koan. It ate itself, as a traditional Zen sense. The koan just eats itself. meaning that the solution becomes so obvious that you can't unsee it once you see it. And so that freedom I felt from truly experiencing the truth that there is no pole. There never was a pole. There never will be poles. That is all artificial that that Drivens in particular are creating in our heads to manage this sense of perfectionism. And there is no perfect. And that relief is what this thing's all about. Keep it short, leave it here. Jump on those other videos that I told you about. Please, if you're questioning your driven, is this the only video you ever see of me? Who's this wacko, weird psychologist guy? Go to my website, look at amidriven.com, take a look. There's an assessment on there because of my own perfectionism, because of my own imposter syndrome, which is also explained by this. It's a real assessment. Actually, there's new assessments coming out all the time if you want to join some of my groups that I work with and teaching this stuff. But very simply, it is a 50-question, real deep dive into the 10 variant traits that I conceptualize as encompassing this ADD, ADHD, autism spectrum thing that I affectionately call driven.
Now that you know why your brain always wants perfect, it's time to take your self-understanding to the next level. Watch this video next because it'll explain why your brain seems to choose pain over happiness and how to break the habit. And get your free training at amidriven.com. You'll be glad you did.